Hi guys, it's Mary McIntyre. Welcome back to my channel. It's that time of year again. It's January already, and every year I put together a list of times for Clair Obscur effects for the coming year. Not all of them, there are well over 100 listed, but this all began because people were very obsessed with the Lunar X and V, and so I wanted to provide times so people could see very quickly what month they were going to be visible. That has now evolved, and I now cover quite a few other Clair Obscur effects. So I'm going to give you a summary of this. As always, there's the full-length blog on my blog page, but I've also, again, created a downloadable PDF file so that you can download all of this. You don't have to listen to me talk about it now. In the description box, I'll put the link to the PDF, which you can download, share. Genuinely, it takes me so long to put this stuff together. So if you think your society can benefit from this PDF, fill your boots, please share it everywhere. Before we get on to the Clair Obscur effects part, today is Saturday the 24th of January, which means 2 weekends time from today it is European Astrofest in London. So it's on the Friday and the Saturday, and it's all a little bit last minute, but I've been booked to do lunar sketching workshops at Astrofest, and I am so excited. I've been to Astrofest so many times as a visitor, so to actually be on a stand and doing something for the show, I am unbelievably excited. So I'm going to be, I think, on the third floor. At the time of recording, that's where I think my stand will be. So we'll just be doing pastels on black paper, drawing some lunar craters. It's a drop-in situation from 10:30 in the morning till 4:30 in the afternoon. So if you are at Astrofest at all, please come up and say hello. It'd be great to see you there. Okay, so first up, the Clair Obscur effect that first got me into Clair Obscur effects, and that is the Lunar X and V. These occur usually somewhere close to first quarter moon, but the exact percentage of illumination varies depending on libration of the moon each month. As the sun rises over craters Blanchinus, Lacaille and Purback, the rims of those craters are sitting just a little bit higher than the surrounding landscape, so they catch the sun first. They give the illusion of this white X against an otherwise dark background. Now, the V actually shows up about an hour before, and that again shows up a lot because it's up against a really dark kind of Maria region. So I'll put pictures of them on the screen here. And these are really fun to observe if you can catch them before they're at their best, and then watch as the shadow terminator moves and you actually end up with just the most amazing effect of seeing the landscape literally having the sun rising over it. It's amazing. I once did a 6-hour time lapse of this where I took a video with my ASI camera every 15 minutes for 6 hours. So much work, but it was a really cool time lapse that I got out of it. So yeah, really good fun to observe those. You can still see them a few hours later, but by then the sun has risen over the area, so they don't stand out quite as much. So that they are best viewed when the sun has just risen over the area, because they do stand very proud. Now, they are actually, in theory, visible 9 months of 2026, which is insane. I don't recall them being visible that frequently before when I've done these times. However, a lot of them are either on a rising moon, a daytime moon, or a setting moon, which will make them way more challenging. Not impossible, but if you're observing with binoculars, a daytime rising moon is not going to be easy to see any kind of detail whatsoever. But once the moon has dipped up a little bit, about an hour after rising, if you do take some pictures and stack them, you'll get a sharper, higher contrast result, so you should be able to see them then. But definitely worth a shot. And the first opportunity is, well, I was going to say tomorrow, but given that it's now after 1 a.m. on Sunday the 25th, tonight at 5 p.m. we should get a stab at the Lunar X and V, assuming this incessant cloud and rain goes away, but that's our first opportunity. So yeah, the times obviously are in the PDF, and so you can check those out. The times are in UT, so you can calculate what it will be where you live in your time zone, and then you can see if the moon will be above the horizon or not. Now, the next one is the face in Albategnius. Humans see faces in everything where there shouldn't be faces. I see it in wood grain, I see it in patterned wallpaper, I see it in wrinkles in towels. We are just predisposed to see faces, and this Clair Obscur effect is named for that reason. This usually occurs about 6 hours after the lunar X has been at its best. When the sun first rises over that crater, the shadows being cast onto the crater floor don't really look much special, but when you get to a certain sun angle, all of a sudden it resembles the side profile of a face. I'll pop it on screen here. So you've got an eye socket, a nose, lips, so it does kind of resemble a face, but only for a really short time. When the sun's too low, the face is distorted and very pointed. When the sun's too high, the face is very squished. So not ideal. So it's one of those that is very time critical. And as I said, it occurs about 6 hours after the X and V are at their best. We unfortunately don't get that many stabs at it in the UK, because although we're getting 9 months of being able to see the lunar X, a lot of them are in the evening, and the moon is already set by the time the Faces in Albategnius appears. So first opportunity is actually, again, later today / tomorrow, about 11 p.m. on January the 25th, Sunday the 25th. And that would be our opportunity. You've got 2 hours before the moon sets, so it will be quite a low moon. But that's our best chance for a while. There's a daytime one on February the 24th, which will be very challenging for this particular one. We've got a daylight one again in April. It will be, late afternoon, so again, not ideal. After that, we've got a kind of, again, another evening / late afternoon daylight one. So really the next opportunity after tomorrow really is December the 16th. So we'll have quite a while to wait. That will be in the dark, that one. That'll be a good one, but make the most of January the 25th, because we're not going to have a decent stab at the Face in Albategnius again until the end of the year. Make sure that you're subscribed to Sky at Night magazine, by the way, because Pete Lawrence in his Sky Notes will always cover when these Clair Obscur effects are visible, and he can cover way more of them than I'm able to in this little roundup. So next up, the eyes of Clavius. This is one of my favourites, and I actually photographed it a few years ago without even realising that I'd photographed a Clair Obscur effect. Clavius is one of the biggest craters on the lunar near side, and it has lots of smaller craters within the main crater floor. When the sun rises over that area, the rim of the crater is illuminated, and then the rims of 2 of the smaller craters then become illuminated, and it looks like a pair of eyes. See here, looks like a pair of eyes staring out at you from the shadowy floor of Clavius. So really good one to observe. Again, pretty time critical though, because once the sun fully illuminates the crater floor, you don't get quite the same effect. But you can still see them. You can see the craters involved in it, I should say, once the sun has fully illuminated that area. So January the 27th, we have a bit of an opportunity, but that's going to be tough because that's going to become visible 45 minutes before the moon sets. So that's going to be really difficult. Daytime-ish one in February at 6 p.m. So that'll be a kind of deep twilight kind of time. Rising moon one, that's going to be really challenging in March, and we've got a daylight one in August. So again, really, we're going to have to wait till December for the next decent one. So yeah, not ideal this year, but January going to be very challenging because the moon will be so low, and February fairly decent, but it's always a fun one to observe. So definitely keep an eye on the times for that. These generally occur when the moon is somewhere around 60% illuminated, thereabouts, but again, the exact illumination depends on libration. But it's a really fun one to observe, and you may note, if you do observe this, that Clavius looks oval in shape. It's actually circular. If you look at an orbiter photograph of it from the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter, this crater is round, as most lunar craters are. There are very few that are genuinely oval shaped. It looks a bit oval because it's near the South Pole, and the foreshortening of the sphere of the moon actually causes it to look a bit squished. So interesting. Have a look for that next time you have a look at it. Next up, most people absolutely love seeing the sun rising over Sinus Iridum, and sometimes called the jeweled handle. When the sun first rises over that area, it's usually when the moon is around about 80% illuminated, depending again on libration. But as the sun rises over that area, the Maria region is very dark, and then the mountain caps just catch the light, and you end up with this kind of blobby, bright white kind of art that looks like a sword handle. So it's really at its most striking when the surrounding area is really dark and the sun has just risen and caught those mountain caps. But even when the sun has fully risen over that region, the edges of the mountains are still brighter. So you can still see the edge of Sinus Iridum even when the sun has risen over the area. So the time that I've put on here is when it's at its very best, as in you've got the contrast between the light and shadow. But if the moon is not above the horizon at that time, just make sure that you look when the moon rises that day, and you'll still be able to see Sinus Iridum, and you'll still get a lot of relief because you'll have a low sun angle on it and it will still look absolutely gorgeous. Now, a few hours after the sun has risen over Sinus Iridum is when we get the Moon Maiden, Cassini's Moon Maiden, and this is another favourite of mine that I had actually photographed a few times without realising it. Cassini, a very famous early astronomer, used to produce these beautiful moon maps, and he drew a map in 1679. His view of the moon was upside down as we see it from the UK because he was looking at it through a telescope when he produced this map. But the way that he portrayed Promontorium Heraclides was as a lady's face with long flowing hair. So I'll put it on screen here. So this is thought to commemorate Genevieve de Lestre, who Cassini married in 1673. So the Cassini's Moon Maiden is a commemoration of his wife, it is widely believed. So I've put a photograph alongside the moon map version there so you can actually see what it looks like on a picture. So this is another one of those that's visible for several days. As the sun gets higher, you don't get quite as much relief around the landscape, so you lose a bit of the contrast, but the Moon Maiden will be visible for a few days. So I've put the date and the start time, but really it's not necessary to follow the start time for this. Just look at it on that date and you'll be pretty close. Now, interestingly, one thing I loved was a few years ago, Dave Eagle shared a photograph of the sun setting over Sinus Iridum. The sun rising over Sinus Iridum usually happens in twilight, early evening time when we've got a waxing gibbous moon, but the setting happens when we've got a waning crescent, which is during the early hours of the morning. It's a very antisocial time, most people are asleep, so you see way fewer pictures of the sun setting over that area. And I loved this photograph of Dave's because you could see all of the long shadows being cast by the mountain range on the edge of Sinus Iridum, and Promontorium Heraclides was casting the longest shadow. So Genevieve, the Moon Maiden, is the tallest of all of the mountains along that mountain range, and she was casting an absolutely awesome shadow. So I've got a sketch of it here, which I've included in the PDF, but I'll just pop it on here because I loved it so much, because I've observed Sinus Iridum so many times, photographed it so many times, I'd drawn it a couple of times. So it's a very familiar part of the landscape, but it was suddenly presented in a way that looked very unfamiliar, and I really enjoyed seeing that. So that was awesome fun. So yeah, thanks to Dave for sharing the picture and letting me use it as a reference. One final thing to talk about is not technically a Clair Obscur effect, but that is Rena Gamma. Rena Gamma is a lunar swirl. We don't fully understand lunar swirls, but the reason I've included it here is because the way to observe it is kind of using a similar principle to light and shadow. So normally when you look at the lunar surface, anything that is very brightly coloured is higher lying. And when you get a low sun angle near those features, you will end up with something that is casting shadows, and you can see the relief within the landscape. But when you have a low sun angle on Rena Gamma, which is this weird white tadpole looking thing that you can see here, if you look at the crater to the east of that lunar swirl, you can actually see that there's good relief there. There's really good contrast on all the landscape there, but there are no shadows whatsoever being cast by Rena Gamma. So that tells us it's not sitting proud on the surface, it's sitting completely flat on the surface and casting no shadows at all. So we don't fully understand why something with such a high brightness would be flat to the landscape, but we believe it's some kind of magnetic anomaly within the lunar regolith. But it's really good fun to observe it. When the moon gets to about a 95% illuminated, that is the time where the sun has risen over that area, and that is the time where you can get that contrast between the shadows in the surrounding craters and compare it to Rena Gamma. But actually, once the sun has risen over that area, you can easily see Rena Gamma. As long as the libration hasn't sent it too far near the limb, you can actually see Rena Gamma for 2 weeks after the sun's risen over it. So I have put the time here, but that's just the time for you to get that contrast between the nearby craters. So I actually love the way that this looks with the high sun angle, low sun angle comparison. I actually did a pastel drawing of it, which I'll pop up here. I took it out of the PDF because I felt like my PDF file was becoming a little bit too much like, look at this sketch I've done and look at this other sketch I've done. I'm very proud of the sketches, but it wasn't really adding very much to the PDF, so I took it out, but I've just popped it on screen there for you to have a quick look at. So that's everything. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope I can get this edited and out in time, given that it's now, what is it, 1:15 in the morning, and I need to get this video edited and out. But in the description box, the download to the PDF file will be there, the link to it. Please share it, use it, send it to your grandma, send it to your dad, send it to your dog, your cat. Takes me ages to put this together, so I'm really happy for you to use it and make good use of it. Put it on the wall in your Astro Society, whatever. And if you want to replicate any of the tables or use the pictures, you have my permission to do it, but please credit me if possible, because it is my work, but I'm happy to share it. I want people to see these effects. I really want people to see something new and enjoy knowing when they can and can't see them. So good luck. If you do take any pictures using these data tables, please do let me know. And also don't forget Astrofest, 6th and 7th, Friday, Saturday, 6th, 7th of February. I'll be up, I believe I'll be on the 3rd floor. Come and have a go at drawing the moon with me, or just come and say hello. Yeah, it'd be great. Come and say hello, get a hug, take a picture. Be really, really cool to see you all. So until then, take care. I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now. Cats are such dicks. Evie. That one. That's another daylight one, I think. What does that say? My printer is also messing around, so I can't actually read what I've... It says daylight. Today's going really well. I'm slightly losing my mind. This is genuinely the 5th time that I've had to record this video. My printer's not working properly. Word was messing me around. My microphone cut out on one of the takes. The cats interrupted me on 2 others. The front door interrupted me on yet another one. And then another 18-minute video lost because my phone has just eaten it and it's disappeared. So yeah, it's 1 AM. I have to get this done now. Oh, send gin.